Alright guys, Spider Video 89 here, back with another video, and today is another Platinum story. Today I'm going to be running you through the journey I had in getting the Platinum trophy on Bloodborne on the PS4. I'm going to run through the story and gameplay together, because the story, you have to go looking for it in this game, but the gameplay is the main draw of this. I'm then going to run through the grind of what you need to do, as well as what else you need to do in game. There's always a couple of other bits that you need to do in order to get the Platinum trophy. This isn't a guide, it's more of a discussion on the way I went about things and what I thought of the game overall, having achieved the Platinum trophy. So Bloodborne is an action RPG that was released by From Software on the 24th of March 2015, so it is a little bit over 3 years old now. As I say, it's an action RPG which has elements of horror. It's actually in the Soulsborne category of games, which is the genre that this, along with Dark Souls, helped to define and create, hence its name, Soulsborne. Now with this, the main draw of these games is the gameplay. So there is story in these games, you have to go looking for it, read little articles in game and things like that, and piece together the story that way. There has been a series of comic books that have been released this year, which you can go through and find out more about the lore that way, but it is definitely the gameplay that's the draw. So the aim of this game is, you start off at a lamp, you travel from the lamp to the next lamp, or to the boss door. Once you get the boss door, defeat the boss. Along the way you can open up shortcuts and things, so next time you don't have to go past all these enemies, you can just go straight to the boss door if you get that far. But the aim of it, the process that you're supposed to follow, is you move from that lamp forward and you aim to get further than you did the last time. So if the first time you do it, if you get a quarter of the way, next time you get half the way, and next time you get 3/4 of the way, next time you get all the way at the next lamp, you get to the boss door and take on the boss, hopefully defeat them. It's about learning the enemy placement, learning their movements, learning their weaknesses, how to take them down. And that's the main draw for these games with me. It is a case of, I enjoy the feeling you get once you get past that section. Don't get us wrong, I get incredibly frustrated at times, and it can be frustrating when you're moving forward and redoing an area and redoing an area. When I did the Platinum playthrough of this with a friend of mine, we went through and fought one of the bosses for 6 hours straight, repeating and repeating and repeating while we were learning these movements and how to defeat him. But when we did beat him, it was such an amazing feeling to know we'd beat him, we'd been there, we'd done that. It had all sort of been worth it. I suppose we did spend 6 hours sitting there going through it, but that feeling at the end of it was amazing. Now, Dark Souls itself relies heavily on a shield which you can use to block attacks. Bloodborne doesn't have that. Bloodborne is all about dodging. So you can obviously roll in Dark Souls, as I'm sure you know, but in Bloodborne that is your only method of defending yourself. You have to roll backwards to avoid attacks. You haven't got a shield or anything like that to block them out, but it's a faster game because of that. I would say it's a little bit easier than Dark Souls. I wouldn't say it's an easy game at all, but it is a little bit easier than Dark Souls. However, it is as enjoyable as Dark Souls, maybe even a little bit more enjoyable than that. Now, in order to achieve the Platinum trophy in Bloodborne, you do have to beat the optional bosses as well as the story ones. Now, there are around 8 optional bosses in game. Some of these bosses are quite easy to beat, a couple of them are quite difficult. The one that I had the most bother with was the Amygdala, which is like this massive spider that you have to fight in game. Now that was quite a difficult battle, but we did get over it and achieve it. Now when playing this game, the biggest bit of advice that I can give you is the Hunter's Bell on Reddit can be your best friend. So if you're playing this game with somebody cooperatively, fantastic. If you're not, or even if you are doing that, you can go on the Hunter's Bell on Reddit, put on where you are in the game, and ask if somebody will come and give you a hand. You'll share like a a phrase in order so you can find each other in game. There's a password system in game where you both use the same password, then you can find each other, and they would come in your world and give you a hand with whichever bit you were stuck at that moment in time. So that can be a best friend there. As I say, you have to beat all 8 optional bosses in order to get this, as there is a trophy for each one. And the other thing that you need to do as well is there's a few items you need to grab. There's 26 weapons and 9 tools. So I would advise that you check the trophy guide. PlayStation Trophies has a fantastic trophy guide on there. That's the one that I used. And make sure you get all of those items, weapons and tools. The weapons ones, there are a couple that are classified as missable, so do check that out before you start the game. And tools wise, there aren't any that are missable, but you may have to nip back to a couple of the lamps in order to pick those up. But it's no major hassle, and you'll probably find before you get to the end of the game you'll have a fair few of them anyway, and you can just nip back and grab the ones that you need. Now this step is undoubtedly the hardest and most grindy part of the game. So these are the chalice dungeons, which are optional chalice dungeons, but they're not optional if you're going for the platinum trophy. So you need to go through 5 optional chalice dungeons, set ones that you need to do, particular ones, in order to reach one particular boss, which is at the bottom of the 5th chalice dungeon. And once you go through there, you face a boss on each layer of the 5 chalice dungeons. There's 3 to 5 layers on each of these. One of them is called the cursed dungeon, and that gives you half health. And the Amygdala, which is in the main game as well, is also in that dungeon, and you have to face that with half health. As I say, this is definitely the hardest trophy in the game. The dungeons themselves are all laid out very, very similar. You go through the dungeon, you move through in order to find a switch which you pull. That switch opens the door to the boss. Once you get into the boss room, you defeat the boss. You move through the back of the room, down to the next layer, down to the next layer, down to the next layer, until you reach the bottom. Once you reach the bottom, you get the chalice for the next chalice dungeon. As I say, this is an extremely hard step. Some of the bosses in here are incredibly difficult to beat. So when you're doing this, that Hunter's Bell on Reddit will come in incredibly helpful. You can't do these chalice dungeons by yourself. I'm sure there are people out there that have done that, and hats off to them, but I would highly recommend that you look for an online cooperator in order to get them to give you a hand with this. As I say, there's 5 chalice dungeons. You have to work through each layer of it. It's an incredibly rewarding experience when you're doing it, because you do get a lot of loot, and the best weapons and that in the game are in here. I missed one of the weapons in the main game, and I was able to pick it up in this dungeon. I did a spot checking online, found out which dungeon I would need to go into, went into that dungeon, run through and picked up the weapon that I'd missed, and got the trophy for the weapons. So I know I said earlier on that some of the weapons are classified as missable. It's definitely best to get them in the main game, but I was able to get one of them in this dungeon. There is one of the weapons that is only available in the dungeon, the Beast Claw, so you do have to defeat the hunter that's using them in here in order to get that towards that trophy for all weapons, which is again something that you'll need obviously for the platinum trophy. This that you're seeing on the screen now is the boss at the bottom of the main chalice dungeon. This is the one that you get the trophy for beating. So you run through the entirety of 5 chalice dungeons, and this is what you'll find at the bottom, and this is the trophy that you need. So is this game worth playing? It absolutely is. Even 3 years after its release, it's still in the top sort of 2 or 3 for me that are available on PlayStation 4. It's an absolutely fantastic game. It's a great RPG. It's a great Soulsborne game. It completely changes the formula of Dark Souls in regards to the blocking. In this, it's obviously dodging, but it is a great game. You can play it cooperatively with a friend. You can play it cooperatively with randoms through something like the Hunter's Bell on Reddit, as I've mentioned, or you can play it solo. I do have to warn you though, if you're going to play this solo, it is going to be a very long experience and a very difficult one. However, you are rewarded quite well, because it is an absolutely fantastic feeling when you do go ahead and beat one of the bosses that you've been struggling to beat, or when you get past a particularly difficult part of the game. The game was available free as part of the PSN Instant Games collection, so as a result of that you can pick it up quite cheap if you didn't get it when it was on there, and I would highly recommend that you do just that and get yourself away for that platinum trophy. So thanks very much for watching, guys. That's all for me today. The next video will be uploaded on Wednesday. That'll be another platinum story, and I think it's going to be GTA 5. So thanks very much for watching, as I say, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.